Hey y'all. Hello, hello. Of course it's not working. Why would it work? Hello. Why is it? Oh my God. There it is. Hello, hello. What? Hello. God damn it. Hello. Hello. I wanted to use my microphones, but my microphone isn't working. So you can hear me. I was trying to use my microphone. It wasn't, it didn't register that it was working. Unless it was working and you could hear me, I just couldn't see the micro, whatever. 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 I'll have to test this later. I don't have time for electronics games. I got serious work to do. Printer. You know how when you never use your printer and then you finally go to use your printer because you need to print something and it doesn't work? That's how this TikTok program is. It refuses to work. Like the green screen. Oh my God. How many times do I have to do this? Lord above, TikTok. Everything's so hard today. Like, yesterday I had to shovel all that snow. Not really. And then today, all I want to do is host this live. And it's like, no. No, Ayana, no. Oh. But I got it. Let's see who we have in the queue. Oh, there he is. It's Heath. Heath Howard. Mr. Heath, hello.
Hello, hello. How are you?
I'm well. How are you? Who else is in the queue? Who is this? Do you have, are you ready with your,
Yes.
the backdrop and your camera? There you go. All right. Flip the hair. That's right. Make sure the hair is nice. Yes, I will do the same. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being had or having us. Anyway, hello. While you're here, everyone, send your daily heart me If you were here for the one earlier, then you already sent your daily heart me. But if you weren't and you're here anew, afresh, please send your daily heart me and share this with your followers. Help us to by liking the live as many times as your fingers will allow. Some of you have arthritis, I understand. Just use your toes. Also, if you're in the chat and you have questions for our candidate Heath Howard tonight, you can leave them in the chat, or you can hit the multi-guest option and come up and ask him yourself. What else? Heath, have you shared this live with your followers?
Yes, I just reposted.
Okay, there you go. I'm going to send some likes. To the live. Hey everyone, welcome in. Thank you for coming in, and we're going to go ahead and get started. Hello everyone, my name is Ayana Fakir, and tonight we are doing a town hall with Heath Howard, who is running for the U.S. House of Representatives Democrat primary in the state of New Hampshire for District 1. Correct?
Yes, that is correct.
All righty. New Hampshire only has 2 districts, right?
That is correct.
It only has 2 districts. Okay. OVC, Our Vote Counts, if you're not familiar with Our Vote Counts, is a nonpartisan coalition of citizens from across the country, united by a shared commitment to empowering voters and elevating political candidates who embody integrity, inclusion, and accountability. Rooted in the experiences of educators, veterans, small business owners, students, and community advocates, Our Vote Counts reflects the power of unity across geography, race, and ideology. Our backgrounds may differ, but our purpose is the same, ensuring every voice is heard and every vote, truly counts. Through voter education, candidate outreach, and community engagement, we champion leaders who are prepared to serve the people, not special interest. By collaborating across state lines and uplifting both local and national issues, we work to increase voter participation, strengthen public dialogue, and build momentum for lasting change. Our Vote Counts is more than a name. It's a promise, a movement, and a rallying cry for a stronger democracy. Together, we are shaping the future, one informed vote at a time. And if you think that's a mouthful, try saying it. Also, again, if you're in the chat and you want to ask questions, I know there's someone who wants to come up and ask questions. We haven't even gotten started yet. You got to wait for the warm-up, honey. You got to wait for the warm-up, and then we'll get you asking questions. Tonight, I want to remind you in the chat, please be respectful in the chat of the candidate and the other members of the audience. Also, if you come up to the panel, please use TikTok-friendly language. And I remind the candidate also and myself, sometimes I forget myself. So we got to use the TikTok-friendly language when we're talking about certain things. Use code words that only a child would understand, if you must. A little bit about Heath's district. New Hampshire District 1 is located in the southeastern and eastern New Hampshire area, and it includes Greater Manchester, the Seacoast, and the Lakes region. Its current representative in New Hampshire District 1 is Democrat Chris Pappas, who was reelected in 2024, but he's planning to retire to run for Senate. So that seat is open. The population is a little over 708,000. It's mostly urban, but some rural, and mostly white. It's mostly white. Some diversity, some diversity. Heath Howard is an American politician already. You're already a politician. So you'll be able to answer all of these questions easily, I'm sure. Community advocate and Democratic leader from New Hampshire, a lifelong Granite Stater from Stratford? Stratford. Yes, he currently serves in the New Hampshire House of Representatives, representing, why can I not talk? Maybe it's because I ate 3 cookies before I did this. Representing Stratford County's 4th district, which includes Stratford and Barrington. And Heath, for those who are meeting you for the first time tonight, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and why you decided to take your run from the State House to the U.S. Capitol?
Yeah, for sure. So for for reference, I am currently serving my second term in the New Hampshire State Legislature. I represent the towns of Stratford and Barrington. It's actually one of the most competitive districts in the entire state. I won my last election by 16 votes. I mean, Trump won my hometown. Our Republican governor, Governor Ayana, won that district. Our previous governor, Governor Sununu, won that district when I won my first election, which was only by 7 votes. So I actually increased my win total.
Wow, every vote truly does count, huh?
Yeah, every vote really does count, and it comes down to the fact that I was able to win those elections by going door to door, calling my neighbors, talking to people, coming to community events, and listening to everybody. It didn't matter if they were Republican, Democrat, independent, somebody who would prefer to sit on the couch. There are people that came out who only voted for me. Literally, I was the only person that they took time to put a bubble next to. And it's the fact that I have been trying to reach out to my neighbors regardless and hear what they have to say. And I really think that that's extremely important. But I got involved in politics because at age 16, I ended up breaking my back. I had an L4 burst fracture. I had 4 rods, 8 screws put in, and I had to have my spinal cord rebundled. I was nearly paralyzed. And that experience really opened my eyes to just how broken our healthcare system really is. I don't believe that somebody should have to go broke because they need to be treated for an illness or an injury. I find that completely despicable. And I think that our country can do better. It's a fact that we are actually in violation of international law by not having a universal healthcare system. The UN Charter for Human Rights says that we have to have a universal healthcare system. And every developed nation in the world has caught on to this. They all have one, except for us. And it's beyond time that we demand more from our government than what we are being provided right now. And, I also, as a young person, I often joke that I bring the average age in the New Hampshire State Legislature down by a few decades.
Yeah.
It's the fact that, we are in a position that we have young people fleeing our state. We have one of the highest percentages of high school grads leaving our state to pursue higher education in another state. Part of that is because we have the highest in-state tuition anywhere in the nation. And this is a situation where we actually, even if we tripled our state aid for our universities, we'd still be dead last. It's an absolute joke. And we need more from our representatives, especially those in Washington, who can actually advocate for an education system that benefits all of us. I mean, I was really troubled to see, Trump go after Job Corps. And the fact that helps people get trade school education. And that's one of the things that benefits us. And it's something that we need here in New Hampshire, because when we look at the economy that we have, it's an aging one. We just passed Maine as the oldest state in the country. And this is because our young people are leaving. It's because the cost of living is continually going up. The cost of housing is going up. I mean, our property taxes we're a mono-tax state. That's how we get pretty much everything. And it's not sustainable. And it's a situation where, as a young person, I believe that we need to be looking forward for how we can best lead this country into the 21st century, because we clearly haven't turned the page. And I think that it's a situation where young people need that representation, disabled people need that representation, and we all need to demand more from our representatives in Washington.
All right, I love that. I do agree that it's time for the younger generations. I mean, I'm not terribly old, but I'm not in my 20s and not in my 30s. I'm a little north of 30, but I agree. It's time for younger people to get involved, not just in politics, but government. And a lot of the things that we do here are to teach people, particularly, young people, what government is about, how it's run, the voting process, et cetera, et cetera. People think politics, politics, then government. They're completely separate things. And when you get into an office, you find out just how much you either know or you don't know, about budgets and who passes what and how to work with people. You think, well, I can work with anybody. And then you come across, a MAGA Republican, and it's like, well, maybe I can't. So it's good that you've gotten a head start, at least by starting at the State House. So I will give you that. So as an icebreaker, I'm just going to ask a very casual question. What kind of music do you listen to?
I like indie rock mostly.
Okay, so if you had to choose one indie rock song to wake you up in the morning every day for the rest of your life, what would it be?
I would have to say I'm gonna go with my favorite band, Peach Pit, Little Dive. That's just been my favorite song of like the past year.
Okay, that's every day for the rest of your life. And I have no idea who that is, but I like indie rock. I like some hard rock. I like some alternative. I like them all. So we're going to go ahead and get started. And a reminder, if you have questions for Heath while he's talking about various topics, you can leave them either in the chat or you can hit the multi-get. Somebody, you know what? I'm just going to let this person who's so eager to come up, I'm going to let them ask you the first question. You have the honor, Mr. E. Dean, of asking the first question of the evening. Please go ahead.
Hey, thank you. And Representative, good on you for the indie rock. I'm older, Gen X, so I came up with Nirvana and Pavement and Dinosaur Jr. and Lemonheads and stuff. I work in healthcare as well. I'm from Connecticut, but I spend a lot of time and we own property in Vermont. I'm just curious to know what your thoughts are on healthcare access for substance use disorder and harm reduction. Because we know Trump cut those services, billions across the U.S.
Yeah, well, we here in New Hampshire, we've been dealing with a very bad opioid epidemic that has affected people that I knew. In high school, one of my friends, his brother died from an overdose, and it's a situation where myself, being somebody who deals with chronic pain, I have been a big advocate for alternatives to opiates. Not just because I think that we should be banning opiates. I don't think that. I think that we need to provide people with all of the options available and make sure that we provide them with what best fits them. But we also need to make sure that we have alternatives available so that we can be looking for options for people that have dealt with substance use disorder. And the thing is that I think that when we're looking at places like halfway homes, we should not be kicking people out because they make one mistake. I think that we need to be encouraging people. We need to be looking to provide people with the bare necessities. I mean, when I used to love watching survival wilderness shows growing up, and there are always the three things that they say that you need: food, shelter, water. And the thing is that right now there are a lot of people that are either food insecure, housing insecure, are not necessarily able to get access to clean water. I mean, the United States is better at clean water access than most countries, but we do have our issues here and there. But without those three basic things, we can't really fully enable our own humanity, and we need to be accessing that and promoting that amongst our fellow man, because at the end of the day, we're all people. And if we're not able to live our lives without worrying for the basics, then we're going to have a lot of struggles. And that's why oftentimes people are turning to these substances. And we have studies that show that when people are able to have that future and have that security available, that they are less likely to turn to those types of substances. And I think that that's really important.
And before I go, thank you again for answering my question. What is New Hampshire's policies on harm reduction? Paraphernalia exchange. I'm trying to be TikTok friendly, and safe supplies and that kind of substance testing and stuff.
Yeah, we've been trying to advocate for substance use testing, and unfortunately, there have been arguments made in the Criminal Justice Committee limiting the type of testing that is available. And it's been a very uphill battle in that regards. Our governor has also been very opposed to any sort of perceived legalization of any substance, and that includes testing or test strips, which is completely baffling to me because it's not legalizing any substances, but it's the fact that we're trying to enable harm reduction, that we're trying to promote safe use, and that we're trying to limit the damage that is been caused by these substances in our state already. And unfortunately, it seems like we've been kind of backsliding on a lot of the policies that have been proposed.
Yeah, thank you. In Connecticut, we have testing strips. We have clinics. You can bring your supply and get tested and get the results found out of what's in there. If it has, that tranquilizer stuff that's in the supply, and I've had clients in other states where if they even have one of those testing kits to test that, police, particularly in the South, will arrest you, and that'll be considered paraphernalia, and
Yeah.
that'll be a charge. So it's fascinating, and thank you so much for your time, and good luck, sir. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate
Thank
the
you,
question.
Dean. We appreciate you.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you. Keep up the good work. Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All righty. Thank you for that. Again, audience, if you have any questions, you can come up like Dean did, or you can leave them in the chat and we'll ask them. Moving on to our first category here. Your district voters swing a lot, right? Right, left, right, left. They don't like being taken for granted. What do you think Democrats and Republicans both consistently get wrong about your district?
Yeah, the liberty focus, the fact that a lot of Granite Staters, I mean, we have the highest percentage of veterans of any state, and it's the fact, though, that a lot of these people who have experienced the atrocities of war don't want to return to that. And it's a fact that I think Republicans and Democrats get wrong. We actually, for a long time, we had a number of libertarian representatives. Since they've actually kind of joined the ranks of the Republicans and taken over the Republican Party. There's a group called the Free Staters in the New Hampshire state legislature that used to be, it's kind of an amalgamation at this point of Republican libertarian-esque type policies, but for the most part, the libertarians have kind of been able to influence a lot of the policy that the Republicans have been passing. And they have been more willing to listen to that group than a lot of the Democrats have. And I do think that they have a lot of points that we should be listening to. I mean, when it comes down to going back to the previous conversation with legalization, that should be something that should be discussed. When we're talking about situations like what has happened with military force in Venezuela, a lot of Granite Staters want to see the overturning of the authorization for use of military force. I mean, we in 2006 elected Carol Shea Porter, who was a very vocal anti-war representative from the 1st District. And it's something where that is a very, very strong indicator to me that Republicans and Democrats have both missed this point very, very clearly, because since Carol Shea Porter, we have had a few war hawks essentially kind of pushing policy.
Yeah, I agree that Congress has, it's strange for me to see. I mean, I've been around since Carter was president, and it's strange for me to see the kind of backseat that Congress, both houses, have decided to take to the president, and just, here's the blank check, sir, and we're not going to balance, we're not going to check you, just however much money you want, whatever you want it for, do whatever you want, take the powers of the purse, here you go. And instead of getting into office and doing what they're supposed to do for the people, right? You get into office, you still represent the people, you still work for the people, should be serving their needs and focusing on your district. Instead, people get in there and they're party line all the way down. Party vote, party line, whatever the president says, whatever the leader of the party says is what we're doing. And they forget about the people. And New Hampshire is one of those states where they do not let you forget why they sent you to office. So what's one New Hampshire specific issue you believe Washington fundamentally misunderstands?
That's a really good question. I mean, I do think, going back to what I said with AUMF, for instance, veterans' rights issues, I think that those are very important and are not necessarily promoted as well as they should. I also think that, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of Granite Staters leaving the state in a lot of the problems that we are seeing here with the aging population, with the fact that we are not exactly ranked the best in terms of business development. I mean, we were just ranked 42nd in the country for business development. And that comes down to the fact that we are not able to attract businesses here because the companies are looking at our aging population and saying, we know that these people are going to retire, and we don't think that that's going to be a safe place to put money or investment into in terms of building infrastructure. So it's a situation where we are losing out because we are not necessarily able to maintain attractiveness to these corporations or businesses that are just looking at how they can best, get away with things. I mean, we have done everything in our power in the state legislature to make it cozy for them to be here. I mean, I think that we should be taxing them more, but this is a situation where we just lowered the business enterprise tax again, the state house just passed a lowering of the business enterprise tax just last Thursday. So we are continuing to say, all right, we'll try and make it as cozy as possible, but we're not actually doing anything to actually address these issues. And that's something I think that we're not necessarily doing at both the state level, but also at the federal level, where we're not necessarily thinking about how we can make sure that states like New Hampshire have enough nurses, making sure that we have enough emergency service personnel, making sure that we have enough people here to make sure that our economy is able to be sustainable, making sure that we have enough plumbers, electricians, carpenters, people who are going to fill these basic needs in our economy, that when these people retire, they're not going to be replaced. And that's where Washington needs to be thinking about trade schools. We need to be pushing the opportunities for free trade schools everywhere, especially here in New Hampshire, and that's not something that we're doing.
And so do you believe that the current, incumbent, but he's not running for office, Chris Pappas, has done a good job in making Washington aware of the needs of New Hampshire? Do you think you can do a better job than he's done?
I think that I can do a better job than he has. I do, because I do think that he has been beholden to some special interests. Groups like AIPAC have been, funding his campaign, and he's been putting money towards Israel rather than the people of New Hampshire. And it's a fact that we have been seeing a genocide take place all the way across the world. And
G-side.
Apologies. Sorry. But yes, I do think that we can get better representation.
Okay. And I've looked at the others in the race. You're running against one other person in the primary, right, so far?
No, I'm running against 7 people.
Oh, okay. I looked on Ballotpedia. They only had one person. Maybe only one person has registered, but okay, so you got 7 people that you're running against. Now, yes. Comparing yourself to the other people in the race, how do you see yourself as being different so different that people should go, I'm voting for Heath Howard. I'm not even looking at those other people. Like the people you said who showed up for you and vote just to vote for you. What sets you apart from the other people in the primary race?
Well, for starters, I'm the only candidate in this race that has actively flipped a registered Republican, and I beat a 12-year incumbent to win my seat. He was the chair of New Hampshire Right to Life and the clerk of the House Judiciary Committee. It's a situation where I am the youngest person in this race, and despite being 25, I still have more experience as an elected official than all the other candidates in the race. And I think that's something that needs to be talked about even further, because it's not that I've just been showing up to Concord to vote on bills during session days. I was the second most active Democratic legislator in the House this past year. I had 28 of my bills pass our chamber. I had 7 signed by the governor. And this is all in a Republican trifecta. And I also serve as vice chair of the House Progressive Caucus. I'm deputy ranking member of Executive Departments and Administration, and I'm the ranking member on the subcommittee on pensions. So I'm very heavily involved when it comes to the day-to-day operations, in my committee. And it's a situation where I have been very active in not only passing legislation, but also stopping bad things from happening. We had a number of attacks put into our state budget this year, including a number that unfortunately were successfully passed by the Republicans. But in terms of what I was tasked with in my committee on pensions and focusing on our retirement system, there was a very large attack placed on retirement benefits. Republicans in House leadership decided that they wanted to put a elimination of our state defined benefits packages, which is basically the whole reason why people go into the public sector over the private sector. Because you might make $1 million in the private sector, but you don't have a guarantee of certain benefits. You don't know what you're going to have year after year after year. You can't plan ahead, because if there's a bad financial year, you could get laid off. That doesn't happen in the public sector. What happens in the public sector is that we have consistency year after year, because it doesn't matter what the economy is like. We still need firefighters. We still need police officers. We still need teachers. We still need all of these positions. That's not changing. And that's why we have these defined benefits packages, because it's supposed to provide that security. And Republicans wanted to take this away. I had to work very hard to get Republicans to vote against their own House leadership, and we were successful in doing that. I wish that I could have stopped a number of other attacks. I was very disappointed we failed by 1 vote in stopping the budget from actually passing altogether. But on top of that, our governor said that she would veto it, but she signed it into law, despite the fact that of the 3 things that she said were her main concerns: special education funding in Manchester, which a Band-Aid was slapped on, Group 2 retirement benefits, which got fixed, and DHHS/Medicaid funding. And as a disabled person, I found this absolutely abhorrent, because on top of this, they placed not only a raising of people's premiums, but the fact that they essentially implemented an income tax on the lowest income individuals in our state.
Oh, wow.
They placed an income tax on our Medicaid recipients, people who have to be low income to qualify to begin with, and then placed an income tax on them in order so that they could receive the care that they need to survive. Our governor, says that she's anti-income tax, anti-sales tax, but she just signed one into law. So she can say all she wants, but it's the fact that does need to be pointed out. And I'm disappointed in myself that I wasn't able to get that 1 vote. I know that it's a situation where we have to find the cracks anywhere that we can, but it's a situation where we need to do better.
And I'm right there with you. When somebody says something, that they're about something, that they are who they are, you should be able to count on that, right? That should be a check you can take to the bank and cash it. It shouldn't be,
Yes.
they get into office and then they suddenly figure out that it would be more advantageous for them, for whatever reason, to go in a different direction than what they said. And now, I mean, I've looked at your social media, watched many of your videos. I love them. You call yourself an intersectional feminist. I've never heard anybody say that before, right? I
Yeah.
want to know, based on your stance on women's rights in the United States, when you get, if you get into Congress, when you get into Congress, whatever the case may be, what is your plan for protecting women's fundamental rights as human beings in the United States?
Yes. I think that we need to be advocating for abortion access. That is something that is essential. And it's something that we I am so
It's
sorry.
TikTok. I don't want anything to happen to your account, and I don't want anything to happen to our account. So if you say, just say
Yes,
AD.
of course.
Just say AD.
I don't necessarily always, again, I'm focused on the policy here.
It's fine. It's fine.
So in terms of what we need to be doing, we need to be advocating for reproductive healthcare access. I think that that's extremely important. And it's something that we have seen attacks on here in the state. I mean, as I had previously mentioned, I have unseated the chair of New Hampshire Right to Life in his seat here in the New Hampshire State Legislature. I have a 100% voting record with Planned Parenthood, and I plan on keeping that. That is not something that's going to change. I think that we need to make sure that women have as many options available to them as possible. And it's a situation where I think that we need to be promoting a nationwide domestic violence registry. And it's something that we have seen actually the first state introduce, I believe, in Tennessee. And that's something that I think that we need to be promoting, because people deserve to know when people commit those types of crimes, because I do think that it is important that we protect as many people as possible. And it's a situation where there have been a number of women that I know who have been hurt by people who, if they had been warned beforehand, they might not have.
Okay, I like that. I like that response. And you've mentioned a few times the aging population of New Hampshire. Now, people may not be thinking about women giving birth and the health of the mother and those things as far as New Hampshire is concerned, but it's still a concern. And Medicaid pays for nearly half of the births in the United States. What would be your plan to expand Medicaid for the people of your state, as well as for people around the country?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we need to be advocating for Medicaid expansion. New Hampshire is one of the states that actually had a Medicaid expansion trigger law. So when Medicaid expansion recently was rolled back under the Trump administration, we were one of the states that also rolled back a number of the benefits that we were providing. We have seen in states like Missouri, where they've actually implemented constitutional amendments enshrining those that Medicaid expansion into law. And it's a situation where I have been very disappointed in the representation that we've been receiving in Congress, as we had our representatives reopen the government, despite the fact that there was a lack of guarantee for ACA subsidies. And I bring that up because I do think that the current healthcare system that we do have is completely inadequate. As I mentioned previously, I think that we need to have a universal healthcare system. I think that we need to have a single payer system that gets rid of the multi-tiered garbage that we see, because ultimately it doesn't work. It does not work. We have seen in countries like Australia that had a single payer system and went to a tiered system, and how that has negatively impacted patient outcomes. Healthcare outcomes have been significantly worse since they went from a single tier to a multi-tiered system. And the way that we need to be talking about healthcare needs to be putting patients first, not about making sure that we can provide insurance companies with a potential profit, because that's all a multi-tiered system does. It's provide those corporations with a little smidge of profit, not as much as they get now, but more than they should be getting at all, because they shouldn't exist.
And you've heard the current president recently announced his great healthcare plan where, he gives people $2,000 and then they go duke it out with an insurance company over what the cost of something should be. It's woefully inadequate, and it's almost a joke. It's almost as if he's saying, you know what, I don't really care, but I said I would do something, so here you go. And it seems like legislators are really not putting much thought into reforming the system. And so we've had a lot of candidates on here who have talked about Medicare for all, universal health care, and some know what that looks like and some don't. And you just described what it would look like for you. How are we going to pay for it?
Well, we already pay for it now. We pay more than any other country in the world for worse outcomes. It's a joke. If we just put the money that we pay towards the insurance companies and said, let's just put this towards a single payer system instead of paying for C-suite executive bonuses, yeah, we would be able to pay for it. Secondly, if we actually taxed corporations at a level that was sustainable, instead of giving them these giant tax breaks and subsidies, then we would have more money to be able to actually pursue programs like this. Because on top of that, we know that there are economic benefits. This is something that is, as I said, this is a pro-business policy. This is something where businesses should be supporting it. But for some reason, they're not. Because under the current system, they're just already taking advantage of the U.S. government. When Republicans say that this country is a welfare state, they're not technically wrong. It's just that the recipients aren't the people that they're ascribing to it.
Exactly.
It's not the individuals, it's the corporations. As I said, they're giving them these giant subsidies. They're giving them huge tax breaks. And then they're turning around and telling these corporations are saying, oh, well, we're not going to pay our employees enough, so here's how you qualify for federal benefits. So they don't have to pay for those employees' health care. They don't need to pay for what these employees actually need. So they're leeching off of the government by getting these tax breaks, and then they're also telling their employees how to qualify for these federal benefits so that they don't need to pay for health insurance themselves. So it's basically shifting the blame from the employer to the employee. And it's the fact that the employer is not doing their job. They're screwing over their employee, and if they can't be trusted, they need to be taxed accordingly.
Okay, so you're a good negotiator. You said you got some Republicans to switch their votes in the state house, but Capitol Hill Republicans are a lot different. They play hardball, and they are very, dig their heels in, 10 toes down for their Republican ideologies. How do you plan on convincing them that what you've come up with is better than what we currently have, or even what they're not even thinking about, right? You go up to them and you say, hey, I know that corporation is putting $10 million into your campaign, but actually I would like us to come up with a plan that taxes them more so that we can afford health care for their employees and the rest of America. How do you get that across to them? How do you sell that?
You don't go to them, you go to their constituents.
That's right. Thank you. Finally, someone says the right answer. Yes. Thank you.
So you yell at their constituents and say, this is what these people are doing. You need to call them tell them this is what you need to do.
Exactly.
Going back to talking about Medicaid expansion, this is something where the people of Missouri, for instance, changed Josh Hawley's opinion on Medicaid expansion because they pushed for it to be enshrined in law. Beyond that, not enshrined in law, enshrined in their constitution. And it's something where he recognizes that it's a poison pill if he goes against it. The people of his state will vote against him, and he will lose his seat. And it is pushing and saying, you will lose your seat if you vote for, this policy, or if you vote against this policy, and making sure that their constituents say that loud and clear to them so that they vote the right way.
And so when you're out talking to the public and trying to convey your platform to them, do you receive a positive response from most people? Are they like, yeah, I like that. I think you're right. Or do you
Yes.
get groans and are
I've found it mostly. I found a lot of receptive ears on the ground, because people are looking for something different. They're looking for something new, and they're looking for somebody who's actually going to lead in a way that is inclusive and brings us all together. Because I understand that, people on the right might not fully agree with me. Hell, people on the left don't fully agree with me. It's the fact that we need to be working in taking down the system that is up versus down, because we have so many wealthy people in this oligopoly that has been built up, that are protecting pedophiles and the Epstein files, that are pushing for war in Venezuela over oil, and are not necessarily looking for the best interests of the people. It's a situation where we need to be advocating for what we can get, because there is a situation that I've talked about, where people are going bankrupt because they're becoming ill, because they're getting injured, because they're trying to get an education. And I don't think that's acceptable, because we have way too much power being given to these oligarchs that are not looking out for the actual interests of the people.
And you've mentioned here, and I've seen in your videos, you've mentioned that you are on the autism spectrum and that you are disabled. You mentioned your accident. And what we've seen in the last year is a rollback of DEIA policies all over the country, from schools to corporations to the federal government. We've seen the dismantling of the Department of Education, which frankly, being against the law hasn't stopped it from happening. But when you get into Congress, as a person with those particular, categories ticked off, what do you see as your plan to rectify that, seeing as how it has affected money that schools are receiving for children who have special education needs, physical impairments, not even racial differences, but people who need particular supports in school? The money is being rolled back. Schools are saying, hey, we don't need the specific training anymore, or we can't afford it anymore. How do you plan to rectify this? Because I know you're going to. How do you plan to rectify it?
Yeah, well, we need to start by, increasing the revenue that we can obtain to actually be able to pay for these services. Because it's a fact that we need to be advocating for increased school funding across the board. I mean, here in New Hampshire, we have been dealing with a situation for the past 30 years where the state has unconstitutionally been underfunding its schools to a level that is highly inappropriate. And this is because we fund most of our schools through local property taxes, and are not necessarily going through the state to then redistribute those funds. It is completely local, and that leads to very wide ranges in the type of public education that is available to our students. So we need to be doing a better job of making sure that we can provide equal opportunities to every single student in every single district. And that's a situation where we need to be looking at the type of tax policy that we can use to make sure that people are able to get the education that they deserve. Because education is the great equalizer. It is supposed to help make sure that people can lift themselves up. And without equal access, you can't say that it is an equalizer, because people are inherently treated inequitably. And it's a situation where we need to be looking out for the best interest of all of our students. In New Hampshire, we've been expanding school voucher programs, and that has been disastrous, because what those schools have for requirements is not the same as the current needs of the public schools. And this creates a situation where these private schools don't need to provide equal treatment or education to special education students. And that's a huge problem. we need to be thinking about how we can best treat all of our students. And it's something that comes down to how much we're able to actually provide for education. And we need to be thinking about increasing taxes on large corporations. We need to be thinking about taxing the billionaires and making sure that we are able to redistribute that to the education system so that we can actually educate our students everywhere across this country.
So what if I said one of the ways to increase education spending is to decrease defense spending? Would you be for or against that?
I would be for that. I think that, defunding the Pentagon quite a bit would be quite useful. I think that it's a bloated system right now where we have a lot of money being dumped into a whole lot of nothing because they failed their last 6 audits. They should be able to pass their next one. And I think that if we have a truly pro-war, pro-peace president, Freudian slip there.
Right.
If we truly had a pro-peace president, he would be willing to do that. But I'm quite skeptical on that front.
Okay, in that same vein, I'm going to ask you some rapid fire questions. These are short response or yes or no answers. Plain and simple, right? Okay. Should members of Congress be barred from trading individual stocks?
Yes.
Would you vote against your party if a bill hurts New Hampshire but helps Democrats nationally?
It depends on what the legislation would be talking about, because I'm not sure what that would look like.
Okay. Should Medicare be allowed to negotiate all drug prices, not just a limited list?
I think that they should be able to negotiate all drugs, yes.
Okay. Do you support raising the federal minimum wage?
Yes.
Should student loan relief be handled by Congress, not executive action?
Could you repeat that one more time?
Should student loan relief be handled by Congress or executive action?
I think that it could be handled by either, but if the executive is not going to act, then Congress should.
Okay. Do you support automatic voter registration nationwide?
Yes.
Would you support term limits for members of Congress?
Yes, but I also think that they should have approval elections.
Approval election? What is that?
It would allow for a term limit to be set, and if a community wants to continue electing that same representative, they could have a primary style vote, just a yes or no on whether that incumbent would be allowed to run again.
Now, it's hard to get people to show up to the regular primaries. You want them to have another primary. We'll see.
I think it's more likely than straight up term limits.
Okay. Do you support paid family leave funded at the federal level?
Yes, I'm also a sponsor of expanding our statewide program.
Okay. Should ICE be reformed, abolished, or left mostly as is?
I have been very clear about this. I don't think that it should be left as is. I don't think it can be radically reformed. It needs to be fully abolished.
Okay. And speaking of ICE, if I can get to my other list of questions. Inmigración. It's a mess. It is a mess. And New Hampshire doesn't border Mexico. We know that. But voters still feel consequences of federal immigration failures. What do you think Washington is getting wrong about border enforcement right now?
I think that we're getting a lot wrong with border enforcement. It's definitely a situation where we are prioritizing cruelty over everything else at this moment. And I think that we need to be advocating for the continuation of norms that were previous to the Trump administration. The fact that we need to be treating people with respect and dignity, and trying to make sure that we can allow for people to come here. I mean, here in New Hampshire, we have a a very close and strong partnership with Canada, and this goes both ways in terms of trade, in terms of tourism, and we have a lot of Canadian tourists who come down and are no longer coming. We have huge problems here because of that. Tourism is usually our number one or number two largest industry in the state from year to year, and without those Canadian dollars coming in, that's a huge problem for us.
And also labor shortages, right? With the immigration changes, you face labor shortages. Should immigration policy be used deliberately to fill those gaps, or should that be off limits?
I think that it depends on the policy. I think that in terms of what we need to be trying to think about how we can best fill the gaps that we currently have, and there are a lot of them.
Okay, and when you're out and again talking to constituents, how do you respond to voters who worry that increased immigration strains housing, schools, and healthcare in your communities?
I would disagree quite vastly. I would say that these people are oftentimes the ones helping build the homes. They're the ones who are currently, making our our education system better. I think that we have a lot of really bright young students, and it's a situation where there are a lot of people coming here to, make sure that they get the best education possible. And this goes from, up to our university level as well. And I think that needs to be strongly supported. When it comes to healthcare, I think that we have a lot of problems in regards to our healthcare system, as we already have discussed, but it comes down to the fact that a lot of the problems that we do have are because we don't have enough money in the current system to make sure that I should say not enough money. We have more than enough money, but we don't have enough money being put into the actual healthcare system itself, but it's the fact that we have a need for universal healthcare that we are not necessarily moving forward in a way that is equitable in that regard. And we need to make sure that that is prioritized. And I think that that's our biggest concern in that regard, not necessarily that immigrants are causing any sort of backlog in any of those issues.
Okay. You've mentioned that New Hampshire has, I believe you said it's the largest number of veterans in the country?
Percentage.
Largest percentage of veterans in the country. What's the biggest failure of the Veterans Administration right now, and what would you push to fix it?
Yeah, I would say access to VA medical centers. I think that we need to expand access anywhere that we can. But again, this also goes beyond that in the fact that this also comes back to the generalized healthcare system. I think that there are a lot of concerns that I've talked to veterans here in the state where they're worried about the interaction between certain state policies in regards to our therapeutic medicinal system and their inability for a VA doctor to sign off on that, for example.
Mm-hmm. Wow, yeah, I've heard we have a few veterans in our group, and I've heard stories about their interactions with the healthcare system. We even had we have someone who worked for the VA, and they were doged. And a lot of the VA has faced a lot of cuts in that manner, and it seems like at a time where the VA could not afford to lose even one employee, they've lost quite a few employees. But we're asking more people to join the military because we have these outlandish goals to conquer Greenland and Venezuela and this and that. And do you believe that Congress sends troops into harm's way too easily? Well, I guess it's not even Congress doing it right now. It's the president.
It's not. I think this goes back to what I was talking about earlier with the authorization for use of military force. Passed back in 2001, 2002, the AUMF really has done a lot of damage, I think, to the congressional authority that should exist, because we are taking what should be congressional power in declaring war and giving unilateral authority to the president. And that has led to a lot of problems, from the war in Iraq, where we had no WMDs found, still looking for them, don't know where they are, the strike on Venezuela just the other week, the fact that we have seen engagements across the entirety of the globe all started because Congress doesn't really want to be the one to vote for it. And this is something where we saw in like the 2008 presidential primary, where Barack Obama won, and Hillary Clinton. One of the things that people, or not Hillary Clinton, I'm skipping too far ahead. I believe it was John Kerry actually, and that part of what damaged his nomination was his support for the Iraq War. And that is something that was really important to helping Obama in terms of winning that election. I do think that there are instances where AUMF has been nowhere near what needs to be done, and yet we are continually using it and justifying that language for those actions. And it's just like, this doesn't make any sense, but yet we continually are supporting it and going back to it. And it's policy that is bad for our country, and it's bad for the Constitution.
So what would you, if you were in Congress, what would you require to authorize military use?
Well, I think that we need a declaration of war. It's plain and
Pure
simple.
and simple. It has to be war or nothing. It can't be these, spicy boom boom here, spicy boom boom here, spicy boom boom on New Year's, spicy boom. It can't be a bunch of little.
No. It needs to be a declaration of war. It needs to be cut and dry, because if you are going to start a fight, it is a fight. It's not a conflict. It's not an altercation. It is a war. And the thing is that we have, just like the Iraq War, for instance, not technically a war, right? But yet we all call it a war because it is. And that's something where we need to be very clear about that. This isn't a conflict. It's not, an intervention, whatever they want to call it. It's a war, and it needs to be called out as such.
And I don't want to get too much into this, but one of the things that people say Osama bin Laden figured out was that if he could get the United States involved in a bunch of little wars over a period of time, that he could bankrupt the country. And that's essentially what happened, right? We went into a recession. It wasn't necessarily because of defense spending, but that did become an issue. And the defense spending got so out of control that was a contributing factor. And it just seems like what Trump is doing is sort of heading down that same road, right? Every few months or few days or few weeks, we see something happening, whereas the money that we're supposed to be saving on whatever it is he says that we're saving money on is not going towards that purpose. Like tariffs are supposed to be, the money's supposed to be for the American people. Well, we haven't seen any of that, right? And we're cutting all of these things, and it's going to save Americans a whole bunch of money. This big, beautiful bill is going to save you a whole bunch of money, and your taxes are going to go down. Well, how is that possible when you're asking once again for an increase in defense spending for the next budget? It just seems to me like the more they say they don't want more money, the more money is being spent, and where is it coming from? And if you're in Congress, that's a question you have to ask, because again, power of the purse. You all have to find out where the money is going to come from and how it should be spent, and you have to make sure that it's spent on those programs. Right now, what we're seeing is block grants go to the states, and Congress is just like, okay, whatever you do with it is fine. And then we see these allegations of fraud come up. Well, we're giving all the da, 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 da. What would be your role in making sure that money is going to where it's supposed to go to? And I'm not saying anybody is guilty of anything, but there's fraud in every agency.
Yeah, I
right?
mean, and going back to what I said earlier, I mean, I think that we should start with the Pentagon. I mean, it's failed the last 6 audits, as I had previously said, and it's one of the biggest money pits that currently exists. There's plenty of money to be found in the Pentagon, and if you
So
cut
it's
the
not
budget by
daycares, it's not SNAP funding, it's not.
yeah,
Well, because in the state of Ohio, it's really ridiculous. Ohio is where I'm at. Now they want to
well,
put cameras in daycares to
yeah,
make sure kids are actually attending daycare instead of looking at, okay, this is where the money is actually going over here. Like you said, the Pentagon being a money pit. Now you're saying, oh, we're just going to put cameras in daycares to make sure that they're, doing the right
yeah.
thing. You're
I
not putting
think that
cameras in the Pentagon.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's trying to pinch pennies rather than actually going after the real dollars. And again, it's the way it's like any lie, there's a good kernel of truth. And it's a situation where I think many Americans, I think, understand that we're getting scammed in some way, shape, or form. And it's the fact, though, that I think that they are not necessarily looking at the right place. And that's where we have to be thinking about going after this money. I believe it was Colin Powell who said that I might be wrong about this. I might be attributing him to the wrong quote, but it was if you cut $1 billion from the Pentagon, nothing would change.
I
And
think that's true.
it's just like I mean, even if you cut $1 trillion, I don't believe anything would change. And it's so overly bloated that I think that we need to be doing a lot more investigation into what is happening and where that money's going, because the military industrial complex has been benefiting more than anyone else.
And I would see your role as even a candidate to explain to people that that very thing, right? We're spending more on defense than we are on healthcare. We're
Yes,
spending more on
exactly.
defense than we are on food security, right? We're thinking more of national security when we should be thinking of food security.
Exactly.
I mean, even if, listen, I don't know what people have their minds on, but my focus, I have 2 kids. I have one in college and one that wants to go to college. And I want to hear more about higher learning. Why is college tuition so high? What can Congress do about that? Do you have an answer for me, Heath?
Yeah, tuition-free public universities. Uh, we can do that. I mean, it was up until the 70s that's when we first started seeing tuition really increase. I mean, we used to provide tuition-free public universities in this country.
Yeah.
It's not exactly the the crazy socialist idea that people really think it is, because yet again, it benefits society if we allow people to pursue it. It's a situation where we know that there are extreme economic returns if we allow that to happen. And it's a situation where if we have an educated nation, all of our constituents, all of our citizens, all of our residents are better off. And I think that that's vitally important.
And something that the president announced, or that the Department of Education announced, is that they are going to start evaluating schools and their programs to see if the federal government's investment is worth whatever the program offerings are, right? They're going to look at what professions make the most money in the shortest amount of time, and they're going to invest more in those and invest less in maybe, I don't know, music education, if you want to get something in music education. It boggles my mind why they would want to mess with something that's not broken, right? If a kid wants to go to college and major in music education, there's value in having people who major in that. There's value in everything.
Yeah. We
I
just
don't.
got, oh, sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
Yeah, at the University of New Hampshire, we just got rid of the journalism degree and program.
Oh wow,
We're axing things
wow.
left and right, and this comes down to the fact that they want to cut things. I mean, this comes down to Republicans even at the state level. We have Republicans when they were talking about their favorite budget cuts. A number of them said the university system was their favorite budget cut.
Well, okay, so if the university system is their favorite budget cut, what have they come up with, or what would you propose? Like, say the university system goes away, what would you propose in Congress as a replacement?
I think that I mean I would hope that
Like,
our
come on.
universities. I mean, keep in mind, I don't think that they really could because I mean, I mean, it's hard to say what would even happen because this is like so um, unimaginably stupid to
Yeah.
do. But I mean, to gain statehood, states had to form a land grant university in order to gain statehood. By getting rid of our land grant university, it's basically saying that we are less than a state. Even, I mean, by all legal definition, we would still remain a state, but it's the fact that we would be essentially destroying one of the pillars of what we said made these political subdivisions states in equivalent to one another because of the access that was provided. And so by destroying our land grant universities, it's just so unimaginably stupid. The thing is that I feel that New Hampshire is a unique situation. And this is something where I am telling people we need to be advocating for our university system as much as possible. Because if there was a state that did get rid of its land grant university, if they got rid of their state university system, it would be New Hampshire. Because New Hampshire it's the only Republican state in New England. We are surrounded by Ivy League universities. We have an Ivy League university in Dartmouth College up in Hanover, New Hampshire. It's a situation where we are relatively close to Boston, where there are a ton of great universities. And they would say, look at all the great private options around, from Dartmouth to Harvard to MIT. If you want to go all the way over to UMass or, Yale, UConn, whatever, one of the universities up in Maine, there are options available. And that scares me because it says that they have an opportunity to say there are other options available. And this is a situation where we need to be very, very vocal about the need for our state university system and why it is a benefit to have it here and why it is so essential that we make sure that our state university system stays around, because it's not just our state university system that we need to be thinking about protecting. It's the fact that it's the nursing programs, it's the emergency services that we need and the education that goes beyond just what is being provided. We need to be thinking very proactively about how this is going to impact our state. And unfortunately, we have a lot of people who are going and pushing this type of idea and pushing this type of mentality. And that's where we have to be advocating and saying we need these programs more now than ever.
And another idea that is being pushed at the federal level as well is that climate change is not real and science is silly and et cetera, et cetera. And I know in New Hampshire, you all are dealing with some flooding and erosion issues, nice segue. What federal investment would most directly protect New Hampshire towns in the next 5 to 10 years?
What federal investment? Well, I think that we have a lot of needs in regards to our seacoast area and a lot of the flooding that we're seeing in that part of the state. And I think that is something where we do need to be advocating for some of the additional infrastructure that will be able to withstand some of this flooding and making sure that we can mitigate some of the problems that's been caused by that. I do think that the other aspect of what we need to be investing in is housing. Housing is a huge issue here in New Hampshire, and it's something that we need to be putting a lot more effort into because, frankly, I mean, housing costs are going up. They're not getting any cheaper. And I mean, in terms of even up and going back to talking about Dartmouth, I was talking with one of the Dartmouth housing specialists that they have. They have people specifically to find housing for their employees, for students, and it's a situation where they have people living in hotels right now because they don't have enough available housing, and I think that that's a big problem. The other aspect of that is on the other side of the coin, we're not talking about it at all, is who's buying a lot of this housing. And we need to make sure that we're banning private equity firms and large corporations, like President Trump suggested just the other week, from being able to purchase single family homes, because I don't think that there's any benefit for a large corporation for holding on to them. What they're already doing.
Okay, and let me stop you there. You know, he's the reason why they were allowed to do that in the first place.
Yes.
So he wants to roll back what he rolled back, which made it impossible almost in some areas for people to purchase affordable housing. Now he's changed his mind and like, okay, so do you think it's the federal government's job to provide housing or make it federal or make it affordable or, you know, increase the housing supply?
I don't really think that we need to be increasing the housing supply as much as we need to be pushing for accessibility to the market, because right now we have private equity firms going in, purchasing up these single family homes, and they're then turning around and selling these homes to themselves essentially, or a shell company. And that's increasing the value of these homes, but it's not actually increasing the value of anything other than on paper. And that is, in my opinion, fairly fraudulent in a lot of ways that really puts skepticism on the market, because when they're paying $100,000, $50,000 over asking price, it's very difficult for the average person to compete with that, especially when they have a nearly unlimited amount of funds available to them. And this is something where we need to be advocating for the ability for single family homes to be purchased by individuals or single families, as the name intends. And I think that that's a situation where we are not doing that if we are allowing this to become a speculative investment rather than what it should be, which is a human right.
Okay, I've kind of heard in your voice that New Hampshire is facing some tough decisions going into the midterms. What do you think is the toughest truth that New Hampshire residents need to hear right now?
That the status quo isn't cutting it, and we need to be going far beyond what has been done. We need to be demanding much stronger leadership.
And what do you think they would say to that? Like, you have a voter who's undecided standing in front of you, and you say that to them. What do you suppose the reaction will be?
It depends. I think that
or maybe you've already experienced that.
Yeah, it is something that we have experienced. I think a lot of people do agree that we need to be a lot bolder than we are right now, and that we need a new type of leadership to step up.
Okay, winning elections depends a lot on swinging voters in your direction, especially independent voters. If you had 60 seconds or a couple of sentences to convince an undecided voter to vote for you, what would you say?
I'm advocating for putting people first and making sure that we have a country that works for everyone, and making sure that we prioritize the needs of the American populace and making sure that we are able to provide the necessary healthcare, education, access to housing, a living wage, because at this current moment, we are seeing the affordability of this country slip away, the American dream start to fade far more than it was even a decade ago. It's become completely unaffordable. And we need to be advocating for an America that works for all of us. And it's a situation where the status quo Democrats, the status quo Republicans have both failed. And the need for something new is desperately, I believe, seen by the American people.
And I'll just tell you the truth, Heath. One of the reasons people see the affordability crisis happening, they think illegals are responsible, and that once the country gets rid of all of the illegals, prices will be fine, right? Everything will be affordable. Everyone will have a house and $1 million in their bank account, and clothes will cost a penny, and we'll be flying everywhere because the airplane tickets will be cheaper, and everything just will be cheaper. And people really are looking to hear those pipe dreams. And again, you got to hit them with those hard truths, And how do you, I've already asked you that question, how do you respond to that? But I'm seriously asking, how do you respond to people who say those things, those kind of outrageous, maybe something they heard on the media, maybe, from the echo chamber, and they are just blurting it out. What do you say to those people?
It depends on the context of the situation and how you respond. I think you need to be kind of calculated in a way where it best suits the audience that you're talking to. And some audiences are more receptive to being told straight up how it is and being very blunt about it. Some you have to kind of be a little bit more subtle, and it's kind of understanding that and who we're talking to. And I think that we need to be doing our best to meet people where they are and educate them in the best way that suits them. And that means having conversations, and difficult conversations at that. And we might have to have a number of conversations, but it's making sure that you go back and try to reach these people any way that you can. And it's not giving up on them. I think that's the most important aspect.
Okay, I'm going to, because I didn't really focus on this too much, because I love talking to smart people. I just love it. I forget that I'm supposed to also be having fun, maybe a little bit. So I'm going to ask you a few kind of fun, rapid fire questions, and you just answer however you want. I don't care. What's your least favorite political buzzword?
I had a conversation about this today with someone. I would say it's sticking with me. I'm gonna have to say tolerance, because acceptance is a far better term.
Okay. If you had, you already answered that. But what's something people assume about you but are totally wrong?
I look like a Republican, so probably that.
When you did the hair thing, I was like, oh, sweet summer child. It's okay. Democrats can be neat and put together, and what they think we're all just in tank tops or something and flip flops, and
I don't know. I people will like point at me and just like Republican, and it's like no.
Maybe it's the blazer. I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, I was in Concord today, so.
If you had to hold a town hall in one place every month, where would it be?
I mean, does it have to be the same place?
The same place?
The same place. Probably, I would have to say online so that it's accessible to everyone.
Oh, and you don't have a favorite coffee shop or tea place or
Look,
Library or
accessibility is very important to me, and
right.
making sure that people,
Ayana. Right. You're right. I apologize. You are absolutely right. You are correct. And you're 25. All the young people are online doing the dances and stuff. So you're right.
Not so much dancing.
Well,
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
no, it's fine. It's fine. You're fine. Oh gosh. So, okay, what's your least favorite dinner meal? What do you just absolutely, if you see that on the table, you're like, no.
I mean, I am not. I don't eat red meat, so I'd probably have to say like a steak or something.
Oh, dagger to my heart. Oh, I love red meat so much. Like I dream about red meat. I love it. I'm sorry. No offense to you.
Oh, it's okay. I mean, it's how I grew up.
What's your favorite beverage? I see you sipping on things, and what do you love to drink?
I ran out of my first water, so I'm on to my second.
So water's your favorite beverage?
I mean, I that's usually what I go with. I mean,
okay, you're not a coffee person, like when you're out
I don't
knocking
drink
on
coffee.
doors. You don't drink coffee. You don't drink.
Sometimes
How do you?
I
What keeps you awake and alert and vivacious and?
I mean, I live with chronic pain, so that does a good job.
It's the subtle humor. The subtle humor of that is just beautiful. It's beautiful. All right, Keith, let the people know where they can find you. They can obviously find you on TikTok. I'm going to go ahead and follow you. But where else can they find you online, and how can they support your campaign?
Yeah, you can follow me at Heath Howard NH on all social media platforms, whether that be TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Threads, Twitter, Blue Sky, YouTube. I think that's all of them. If I'm missing one, you can find it also on my website at heathhowardnh.com. Please, follow along. And if you can, a donation would go a long way. Appreciate it.
How's the fundraising going so far?
Well, we are expanding our team right now so that we can start to really kind of pull in some additional fundraising opportunities and really kind of try and maximize our different revenue options.
Okay, and what else was I going to ask? Volunteers. Do you need volunteers? Are you looking for people to help you out?
Yeah, if you can help out, we have a Discord available for people to join. So whether you live in New Hampshire, whether you are all the way across the country, you can join, help out, and really, do what you can, because every little bit matters.
Every little bit matters. And you're not taking any, are you taking no PAC money or just no like big corporate PAC money?
No corporate PAC money. I have been endorsed by the IBEW 104 and have been taking, I am taking labor union PAC money.
Okay. So there's I'm in the labor union, so we also have a PAC. So I'm not totally against PAC. I'm just totally against some of those ones that think if they give you $1 million, you're supposed to put forth the legislation that they tell you to put forth.
I'm not taking any corporate PAC funds. I'm not taking any money from the pro-Israel lobby. It is something where we really have to be, thinking about grassroots organizations and organizations like labor unions to really move the ball forward.
And so when you get into office, you're sticking with that. You're not going to flip flop.
That is correct.
Okay.
I don't own any individual stocks. I don't plan on owning any individual stocks. I don't plan on trading any stocks. I don't plan on taking any corporate PAC funds. I don't plan on changing who I am. The people of New Hampshire, if they elect me, I will be representing them as I am and as I have been in the New Hampshire State Legislature. I don't plan on changing that in any way.
And when is your primary?
September 8th.
Can people early vote in New Hampshire?
You can vote absentee if you are not going to be in New Hampshire during the election. So you can vote absentee early, but that is the only way that you can do that. Either that or show up to the polls.
Or show up to the polls. So you've got a long way to go. You've got 9 months or so.
It's
That's
the second latest state primary in the country. We have the obviously first in the nation primary for our presidential races, but it's a very different time of year versus the February spectacle that we usually have come through every 4 years.
Well, I hope you keep up the energy, keep up, keep chugging the water, buddy. Keep chugging the water. And when September comes around, I hope that you are very successful and that all of your dreams come true, because isn't that what life is really all about, Heath?
Oh, well, we got to do our best.
We do have we do have to do our best, and we want to thank you for coming this evening, and we want to remind you and the audience that OVC is around. We're around all the time. OVC hosts roundtables for candidates. We're having one this Sunday, and we're also having one 2 weeks from now. If you can't make it this Sunday, the one 2 weeks from now on February 1st, we'll send you an invitation to that one if you can make that one. And it's just candidates coming together, shoot the breeze, talk about issues, talk about how hard it is to get people to not throw their postcards away when they get them in the mail. Talk about how hard it is to squeeze $20 out of a granny for But yeah, we want to invite you to, we have one tomorrow. I mean, not tomorrow, but Sunday, and one on February 1st at 3:00 p.m., Our Vote Counts Roundtable. But we are also having another town hall Saturday, January 17th of 2026 at 7 p.m. I'm going to be moderating that one too with Case Norton, who is running for the Georgia U.S. House of Representatives out of District 7. So you guys could be in Congress together. You might be in Hey, wouldn't that be wonderful? Again, tomorrow, January 17th, 2026 at 7 p.m. Eastern with Case Norton, who is running for the U.S. House of Representatives primary, Democrat primary for District 7 out of Georgia. And we want to thank you again so much, Heath. This was so much fun. I hope it was worthwhile to you and to your followers and to everyone in the audience. Again, thank you everyone for being here, for liking the live, for the gifts, for to our research team, to the moderators in the chat, to the people who participated. Our very first question, Mr. Edine, thank you so much. And again, Heath, thank you for being here. Thank you for being candid and honest. And I really wish you the best of luck in your campaign. Again, this is Our Vote Counts. I am Ayana Fakir, but most importantly, this is Our Vote Counts, a nonpartisan movement uniting Americans from all walks of life to empower voters, support candidates of integrity like Heath, and ensure every voice is heard through education, outreach, accountability, and action. We're building a stronger democracy, one informed vote at a time. We thank you for joining us again. Remember, your vote is your power. Everyone have a good evening. Night. See you later, Heath.